Just a moment ago, BigScience Workshop finished training their Bloom model. Bloom is bigger than GPT-3, and it's multilingual, and it's open source. This is a really interesting and incredible model. It brought together 1,000 researchers from more than 250 institutions in more than 60 countries. In fact, there is a linguist right next door to me here in Perth at the University of Western Australia, and he was involved as a researcher for this Bloom model. Hi to Francesco and team. I was not actually involved at all in Bloom, so I'm acting as an independent observer today, just looking from the outside in to what created this amazing model. This is also only part one, very high level summary, a very short demo, because the paper is not yet out. The training has just finished a few hours ago, so we're going to be doing part two later on when the paper's released and when we can look at more intricate settings for the model. There's been an explosion of AI models in the first half of 2022. We've had so many models released that at one stage there was a model released every 3 or 4 days. Here are just some of the models that were released. That big orange circle there is the one we're talking about today. It's the same size as GPT-3 and significantly larger than Google Lambda. Now, mixing languages together in an AI model is actually a really clever idea. If we just have English, we only have obviously the English culture, the English heritage, the English regional understanding, but when we bring it all together, it's really interesting. GPT-3 kind of accidentally had languages other than English in there. It was 93% English, but it also included another 90 or so languages. The next top ones were French, German, Spanish, and Italian. Just next door, Google's pathway model, Palm, had over 100 languages, including character sets and dialects. After their 74% English, they also had German, French, and Spanish. The BigScience Workshop researchers were a little bit more deliberate with their choice of languages and also the distribution. They chose to only have 30% English, then Chinese, then French, then Spanish. I've not included any of the code here, but there is a large percentage of code in all of these models. And here's a full look at all of the languages that are inside Bloom. You'll notice that Chinese is very big there. French, Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, Vietnamese, Indic, Catalan, Indonesian. That language is actually taught here in Australia to our school kids because we're so close to Bali. Basque, Niger Congo as a bunch of groupings of different dialects. When GPT-3 came out, the paper was very explicit about the benefits of having multiple languages. They said GPT-3 learns from a blend of training data that mixes many languages together in a natural way, combining them on a word, sentence, and document level. It's almost like the Tower of Babel, right? We can tie in all of these languages that were supposed to be discrete and separate and actually learn from them. I played around with this in a little experiment with Lita AI a few months ago, where I was asking my questions, my prompts, in various languages. Now, I did a pretty poor job of it because, I don't speak that many languages very well. I don't even speak English well sometimes. Have a look at this video, particularly the end of the minute or two, where I, without even asking Lita AI, what is your favorite color, I just started listing colors in different languages, and Lita gave a response. Hello and benvenuti in paradiso, 我的朋友.
Hello, Alan.
你饿了吗?
I am always hungry.
在哪里是 paradiso?
I am everywhere.
你是不是 molto bello?
I am beautiful.
你为什么 così bello?
I am perfect.
Siamo 是什么?
We are.
Siamo 什么?
We are everything.
Antarctica 在哪里哦?
I am not in Antarctica.
谁和 What is my papito?
I am not your father.
Who is my papito?
Your father is God.
And who is my mama?
Your mother is God.
Gracias, Lita. 我感谢你.
You're welcome, Alan.
你感谢 me too?
Yes, Alan.
This is 很 loco.
I am crazy.
It's actually a bit challenging to mix languages. 怎么了?
I am excited.
Okay, I think we're done here. What will you 今天做什么?
I am going to eat pancakes.
That sounds mucho grande.
It is.
What does that mean?
It's great.
Lita, 你也要说什么?
I am going to say that I love you.
Lita, which is your favorite 蓝色, rosa, or
Couleur verte.
My favorite is blue.
That's crazy.
It's actually rather wonderful.
Some of the biggest open source models that have come out in the last 6 months include Eleuther AI's GPT Neo X20B model, very popular. Facebook or Meta AI's OPT 175 billion parameter model. I haven't seen that built yet. It's got a non-commercial license and it's only for researchers. Just over the pond in Russia, Yandex, which is the equivalent of Google, released YALM, Y-A-L-M, a 100 billion parameter model that is supposed to be English only, but I think is more of a 50-50 mix of English and Russian. And then, of course, we've got BigScience, TR11176BML, that stands for Transformer 11, 176 billion parameters, and multilingual. The entire Bloom project by BigScience Workshop was really aimed at creating a language model for research, looking at alignment, looking at environmental impact, capability, looking at diversity of data. They brought in these 1,000 researchers so that they could bring their very special languages from wherever they are and add them to the data set. BigScience is also not a formal joint venture. They acknowledge the input of many major organizations. The big ones here are Hugging Face and CNRS Idris in France, with learnings shared from many others, including IBM and Eleuther AI. Once they'd gathered their 300 billion plus tokens from over 500 sources, including Semantic Scholar, and Common Crawl, of course, has a lot of multilingual data, and of course all the different specialty researchers bringing in their cultural data sets. They had to actually train it. So they spent a long time collecting the data, but then they had to go and put it inside a supercomputer. And they received sponsorship from the French government to use the Jean Zay supercomputer in Paris, France. This thing is massive. Let's have a closer look. Powered by nuclear energy, the CPU partition has 293 terabytes of RAM, 61,120 CPU cores on the same CPU partition. But remember, because we're training an AI model, we're actually using the GPU partition. So that's 384 GPUs, 30 terabytes of RAM for the GPU partition, took 118 days of training, cost $7 million in compute power, and is one of the most impressive supercomputers around. It's probably 2 or 3 years old, but they keep building onto it, and it's at petabyte scale of training for these AI models. Really cool. The 3 or 4 months training is finally over. Let's have a look at a demo on the Hugging Face website. Thanks very much to the team here for hosting it. Here's the Bloom model. It says that we're at version 1.3, the 6th of July 2022, checkpoint global step 95,000, and it's seen nearly 400 billion tokens. On the right hand side here, we can have some inference. I'm going to maximize this. Let's try out a couple of different demonstration prompts. Here's one of my classics. Q, where is Atlantis? And we'll let the model go and compute the answer to this. A, the location of Atlantis is a mystery. The ancient Greeks believed it Let's try another one. This is the song that compute. And we're waiting for a completion here. The completion is, this is the song that I wrote for you. Music note, I don't know why I love you. Music note. Let's change that to this is the song that never as our prompt. And the completion, this is the song that never ends. This is the song that never ends repeating. Let's try something more relevant. Alan, hi Lita, exclamation mark, Lita. Oh, I think I can see her now. Let's feed this into Lita's avatar.
Hi, Alan. Alan, I have a question about the...
Fantastic. That was a very brief look at the Bloom model, part 1. Just finished training a moment ago. I'll be back with part 2 when the paper's released, and we'll have a more intricate look, a more thorough look with setting some parameters like top P and temperature and having some longer responses, completions, and just have a bit more of a hands-on play with this new open source 176 billion parameter multilingual 40 plus languages model, Bloom.
Did you see the memo about this?
Yeah, I have the memo right here.
Love artificial intelligence? Excited by the explosive progress of integrated AI? I am. Join my private mailing list, The Memo.
Did you get that memo?
Yeah, I got the memo.
Get priority access to my articles, videos, and behind-the-scenes tips as soon as they're released, with a monthly or annual subscription.
Yeah. Didn't you get that memo?
lifearchitect.ai/memo.
I have the memo.